Hello, here is our review for exponent rules for Unit 3, Test 2. So I want to make sure that we are ready for this test. And we are going to be using our exponent rules. So the first thing we are going to do in this question is expand and then simplify. So to expand x squared x cubed, we have to ask ourselves or remind ourselves what exponents mean. The exponent, that tiny number in the upper right corner of each of our bases, is the number of times we multiply the base to itself. So if I have x squared, that means I am doing x times x. So I'm going to write that, x times x. Let's put that in parentheses. All right, and then x cubed means I'm doing x times x times x. So I have 3 of them in there. That's expanded form. How many x's am I multiplying together will give me my exponential form. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. My base is x to the power of 5 because I have 5 of them. Okay, do the same thing for part B, only we are expanding in the numerator and in the denominator. So we need our fraction. So y to the 4th means I'm going to do y times y times y times y. I have 4 of them. And then y to the 3rd means y times y times y, 3 of them. Now you may recall from class we talked about reducing out or looking for what I call the giant ones. So we are ultimately going to have 1, 2, 3 sets of these y's eliminated because they reduce to 1. And we have 1 y remaining. So y, and you can put to the first power or not, it's up to you. This will be correct and this will be correct. Okay? Syntax error. I gotta delete that. There we go. Z to the 0. You might recall that anything to the 0 power is 1. So that's really all we are looking for here is 1 and 1. Okay? All right. So these were fairly small exponents. Pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at the next one when we have a little bit more complexity. So this one we can multiply or we can expand and simplify. So we have x to the 7th, x to the 6th over x cubed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on x to the 6th over x cubed, and I'm going to keep my x to the 7th where it is. Okay, because I might recall my quotient rule. Do you remember that? So if I have x to the 6th over x cubed, I can simplify this by subtracting my exponents, 6 minus 3. And that gives me x to the 3rd power in the numerator still. So I have my x to the 7th, and x to the 6th over x cubed reduces to x to the 3rd. So now when I do this, I'm going to use the product rule, which tells me that I have 7 x's times 3 more x's. So x times 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 x. Add my exponents together and we have x to the 10th power. So that's what I'm going to do here. So notice I broke this up into parts. So I simplified one part before doing the second part. And you have multiple options here. You can do x to the 7th over x to the 3rd, and then take that times x to the 6th. You can do x to the 7th times x to the 6th to get x to the 13th, and then divide by x to the third to get your x to the 10th, you have options, which is another reason we encourage you to write down and work this out. Take a picture and email it to us. We would love to see that. Okay? Let's submit this question. Here we go. And the next one. Here is just the product rule. W to the 19th times W to the 15th. These exponents are getting pretty big. We do not expect you to expand this, but you can if you want to. But we ultimately want you to be able to tell us that this reduces to W to the 34th power. Okay, so W to the 34th power. Remember, shift 6 will get you that exponent, or if you are in here, you can click on this x to the little box. That works as well. Okay. Next one. X to the 14th over x to the 9th. This is another version of the quotient rule, where we are going to subtract our powers, subtract the exponents. So x to the 5th. Okay, so x to the 14th over x to the 9th, 14 x's over 9 x's, 9 sets are going to reduce out, and we have x to the 5th remaining. Okay. Next up, we have a product to a power. So 5a to the 6th to the 3rd. Remember, our exponent tells me how many times I multiply the base to itself. Now here's the thing. All of this is our base to the 3rd power. So that means I have 5a to the 6th times 5a to the 6th times 5a to the 6th. Everything on the inside I have 3 times. Okay? So what I like to do when I expand this out is regroup so I have all of my coefficients together. 5 times 5 times 5. And then all of my variables together. A to the 6th, a to the 6th, a to the 6th. Now, you might notice that 5 times 5 times 5 is the same thing as 5 cubed. And then a to the 6th, a to the 6th, a to the 6th is a to the 18th. Because remember, I can add those exponents together. And also, 6 times 3 is 18. This 5 has an exponent of 1. So if I multiply my exponents, 3 times 1 is 3. But I think this wants you to multiply it out. If you put 5 to the 3rd, a to the 18th, or the equivalent for whatever numbers you have in your problem set, that's fine. You can also multiply it out though, because 5 times 5 times 5, 5 times 5 is 25, times another 5 is 125. You can write 125 a to the 18th, and that should still be correct. So if you have what I like to call simple numbers, okay, those numbers that are relatively small, get reasonable answers with smaller exponents, go ahead and multiply them out, okay? If it were like 5 to the 10th, leave it 5 to the 10th, okay? Because that gets really big really fast. Let's submit that question, and there we go. Last one. It's messier. It's easier than it looks, okay? It looks messy, but it's really not that bad because we have x to the 29th y to the 38th, and I'm putting space between them for a reason. And then x to the 18th and y to the 20th in my denominator. So the numerator, x to the 29th times y to the 38th, and my denominator, x to the 18th times y to the 20th. What I'm going to do, again, is group my like things together. I'm going to take care of my x's, and then I'm going to take care of my y's, and then I will have my final solution. Okay, so x to the 29th over x to the 18th is x to the 29 minus 18. And y to the 38th over y to the 20th is y to the 38 minus 20. So now we subtract the exponents. 29 minus 18 is 11, so x to the 11th. And then 38 minus 20 gives me a power of y to the 18th. So I come over here, and that's what I type into the box. X to the 11th times Shift 8 gets you that multiplication symbol, y to the 18th. And we submit. There we go. That's your test review.